Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that takes a whole load of information, sorts through it, and pulls out the key insights you need to get up to speed fast.
Yeah, and today we're tackling something universal. We've all got these big dreams, right? These visions.
Oh yeah, things you really want to achieve. But they just kind of hover there. Always someday.
Exactly. That gap between someday and done, that's what we're bridging today. We're doing a deep dive into, well, effective goal setting.
And specifically, we're focusing on a framework most people have probably heard tossed around. SMART goals.
Right. But we want to go beyond just the acronym. We're digging into the why, the how, the psychology behind it.
We really are. We've looked at a pretty fascinating mix of sources for this one. Everything from academic studies in organizational psychology, even mental health research.
To practical guides, insights from, really high-achieving places like Google, the Gates Foundation. It's quite a range.
So our mission really is to give you the full picture on SMART. Not just the letters, but the thinking behind them, how to make them actually work for you.
And crucially, when maybe, just maybe, a different way of setting goals might be, well, smarter.
Okay, let's dive in then. SMART goals, we hear the term constantly. What is the core idea? Why did they become this sort of best practice everywhere?
Yeah, it's a good place to start. The roots are really in organizational psychology. George Doran, back in '81, he framed it initially to help clarify objectives, boost productivity in the workplace.
Okay, so business origins.
Primarily, yeah. But it just took off. People saw the value in sports, education, therapy, healthcare. Because it brought structure. It gave ambition some concrete rails to run on.
Structure. Okay, that makes sense. So it's not just jargon. Let's unpack that famous acronym then.
Yeah.
What does each letter really bring to the table?
Right. Each one adds a crucial layer. So first up, S is for specific.
Meaning, not vague.
Exactly. Not get healthier. That's too fuzzy. It's got to be something like, I'll run 3 times a week, 30 minutes each time, starting next Monday. It gives you clear direction. You know exactly what action to take.
Okay, clear action. Got it. What's next?
M is for measurable. This is key. How will you know you're making progress? How will you know when you've actually hit the goal?
Right. You need some kind of yardstick.
Precisely. It could be quantitative, like save $500 by the end of the quarter, or maybe qualitative, like get positive feedback on my presentation from at least 3 colleagues.
So numbers or observable results.
Yeah, you need clear metrics. You need to know what good enough looks like, maybe tied to a specific data point or source. It's about tracking.
Makes sense. Then A.
A is for achievable, or sometimes you hear attainable. Is this goal actually doable, like realistically, given your time, resources, skills, potential barriers?
So grounded in reality, not pie in the sky.
Right. It shouldn't be easy necessarily. A good goal often stretches you, but it needs to be within the realm of possibility. There's a balance there.
Okay, achievable but stretching. Next.
M is for relevant. Some also say realistic, which ties into achievable. But relevant really asks the why. Why this goal? Why now?
The connection to the bigger picture.
Exactly. Does it align with your overall ambitions?
Yeah.
Your values? Your team's objectives? If it's not relevant to what truly matters to you, your motivation is going to tank when things get tough.
That's crucial. The why. And finally, T.
T is time-bound. This is simple but powerful. Give it a deadline, a start date, an end date.
Creates urgency. Stops the procrastination.
You got it. Without that time frame, someday just stretches out forever, doesn't it? It puts a container around the effort.
Okay, so specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. It does create a very clear picture. Is that the main takeaway then, that clarity and focus?
That's definitely a huge benefit. It fosters this clear shared understanding of what's expected, what success looks like. But there's deeper psychology at play too, which is why it tends to stick.
Okay. Now we're getting into the really interesting stuff. Beyond the structure, what's happening in our heads when we set goals like this?
Well, a big piece is goal commitment and acceptance. It sounds obvious, but you perform way better when you actually buy into the goal, when you're genuinely willing to pursue it.
Right. You have to actually want to do it, not just feel like you should.
Exactly. And feedback is critical here. Regularly checking in on your progress, seeing how you're doing that keeps the commitment alive. It also feeds into something really important. Self-efficacy.
Self-efficacy. Heard
Yeah.
that term a lot. What does it actually mean in this context? How does it help us achieve things?
It's basically your belief in your own capability. Can you actually pull this off? Do you believe you have what it takes to succeed at this specific task or goal?
So it's confidence,
Yeah.
but specific to the task.
Pretty much, yeah. High self-efficacy means you see challenges not as threats to avoid, but as things you can master. You bounce back quicker from setbacks. It fundamentally shapes how you approach the goal.
And where does that belief come from?
Several places. Past successes are huge, what psychologists call mastery experiences. Seeing other people like you succeed, vicarious experiences. Getting encouragement from others, social persuasion. Even your physical and emotional state matters. And, your upbringing, your environment, they play a role too.
Wow, okay. So building that belief is key. What else drives us psychologically?
Another huge driver is intrinsic motivation. Are you doing it because you find it inherently interesting or satisfying? This links directly to self-determination theory from Dessay and Orion.
Okay, self-determination theory. Break that down.
Sure. It suggests we all have these innate psychological needs. We need autonomy, feeling like we're in control, making our own choices about our goals. We need competence, feeling effective, mastering skills. And we need relatedness or connection, feeling like we belong, connected to others.
Autonomy, competence, relatedness.
Right. When the goals you set tap into and satisfy those needs, your motivation becomes much more powerful. It's self-driven. It feels less like a chore and more like growth.
Like it's coming from within you rather than being imposed.
Exactly. But there's one more psychological piece we need to consider, kind of a caution: willpower.
Ah, willpower.
Yeah.
The thing we all wish we had more of.
Right. Well, the research suggests it's like a muscle. It gets tired. It's a finite resource.
Meaning you can actually use it up.
Yeah. Every time you resist temptation, force yourself to focus, push through difficulty, you deplete that willpower battery a little bit. Which means we need to be smart about how we use it. We can't rely on brute force willpower for everything, especially for starting new, hard goals. We need other strategies.
It's slightly terrifying. The idea that willpower runs out.
Yeah.
So if we can run out of steam and we need this internal drive, does goal setting ever go wrong? Can it actually hurt performance?
It absolutely can. This leads us to what some researchers call the goals gone wild idea. While smart goals are often helpful, they aren't a silver bullet, and sometimes they can lead to some pretty negative consequences if you're not careful.
Goals gone wild. Okay, sounds dramatic. What kind of negative consequences are we talking about?
Well, one major concern is unethical behavior. If the pressure to hit a very specific, very challenging target is super high, and maybe people feel they're falling short.
That might cut corners.
Exactly. Or worse, they might fudge the numbers, cheat, rationalize doing things they know aren't right. We sometimes call this moral disengagement. It can also create this intense, narrow competition where people might even sabotage colleagues.
Yikes. Okay, so ethics can take a hit. What else?
Another big one is tunnel vision. You get so hyper-focused on the specific goal metric.
They can miss everything else.
Precisely. You might neglect other important parts of your job or life that aren't measured by the goal. It can also stifle implicit learning, that background learning that happens when you're exploring, especially with complex tasks. Remember that famous experiment, the gorillas in our midst?
Where people counting basketball passes totally miss a gorilla walking through. Yeah.
It's like that. Your narrow focus makes you blind to other crucial information or opportunities just outside the goalposts.
That's a really vivid illustration. So focus can be too intense.
It can, and particularly when you're learning something complex or need to be creative or innovative, rigid, smart goals can actually backfire. They can increase anxiety, make people afraid to experiment, and hinder the very process of figuring out the best strategy. Sometimes just aiming to do your best leads to better learning in those early stages.
Interesting. So the very structure can sometimes get in the way.
It seems so, and we see this gap between theory and practice, too. There was a study in Australia looking at mental health service users and goals set by pharmacists, even though SMART was the best practice.
Let me guess, the goals weren't actually very smart.
Overwhelmingly, no. Like 93.5% lacked clear details on how progress would even be monitored. Less than a quarter had any real measurement component. The researchers basically classified all the documented goals as poor quality, using a SMART assessment tool.
Wow, that's quite a reality check.
It is. It suggests maybe rigid SMART goals aren't always practical or even suitable for everyone or for every context, like brief interactions. And another study found that setting SMART goals for walking actually increased feelings of pressure and tension compared to more open-ended goals, which made people more interested in doing it again.
Okay, so the evidence is mounting that SMART isn't always the smartest approach. If traditional SMART goals have these potential downsides, what are the alternatives? How do we navigate this?
This is where things get really practical and I think more empowering. One really useful distinction to make is between learning goals and performance goals.
Okay, learning versus performance. What's the difference?
Performance goals are what we usually think of with SMART. They focus on hitting a specific target or outcome. Get an A on the test, increase sales by 10%.
The end result.
Exactly, which is fine for some things, but as we said, can lead to tunnel vision or anxiety, especially if the task is complex. Learning goals, on the other hand, focus on acquiring knowledge, developing skills, understanding something better. Think. Learn how to effectively use this new software or master the techniques for persuasive writing.
So the focus is on the process, the growth, the competence building.
Precisely. And for complex challenges or roles that require continuous adaptation, learning goals are often much more effective. They encourage exploration, build deeper skills, foster that intrinsic motivation we talked about, and, ironically, often lead to better long-term performance anyway.
That makes a lot of sense. Focus on getting better and the results will likely follow.
Often, yes. And related to this, for really complex or creative tasks, or when you're just starting out and don't even know what's possible yet, sometimes non-specific goals are better.
Likewise, just
Sort of. You have do your best DYB goals. These aren't super specific, but they encourage you to tap into what you already know and just give it your best effort.
yeah.
They often work better than having no goal at all.
Okay. Still provide some direction.
Yeah. And then you have truly open goals. These are exploratory, see what you can discover, explore different ways to solve this problem, no specific outcome defined up front.
Less pressure, more freedom.
Exactly. Much more flexibility, great for brainstorming, early stage innovation, creative work, or just reducing that performance anxiety when you're learning something new.
Okay, so learning goals, do your best goals, open goals. These offer alternatives. What else helps bridge that gap between just setting a goal and actually doing it?
This is one of my favorites, implementation intentions. Or, more simply, if-then plans.
If-then plans. Sounds intriguing. How do they work?
They're super simple but incredibly powerful. You basically pre-decide how you're going to act in a specific future situation. You link a cue, the if, with a desired action, the then.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Let's say your goal is to exercise more. A vague goal is exercise after work. An if-then plan is, if it is 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, then I will immediately change into my gym clothes and go for a 30-minute walk.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Very specific cue, very specific action.
Exactly. Or, if I finish dinner, then I will immediately put my plate in the dishwasher. Or if my alarm goes off at 7 a.m., then I will immediately get out of bed and drink a glass of water.
So you're automating the decision, taking willpower out of the equation at that moment.
Precisely. It reduces the cognitive load. You don't have to decide in the moment. The decision is already made. It helps overcome that classic problem of good intentions but zero action. And it helps shield your goal from distractions because a plan is locked in.
That sounds incredibly practical. Does it actually work?
Oh, yeah. The research is really strong on this. Implementation intentions have been shown to boost things like voter turnout, getting flu shots, sticking to exercise plans, even managing emotions better. By preloading the connection between the situation and the behavior, it becomes almost automatic over time.
Okay, I'm definitely going to try using some if-then plans. And how do habits fit into all this?
They're closely related. Goals often kickstart a new behavior, but habits are what make it stick long-term, often without needing conscious goals anymore. So combining clear goal setting, maybe using if-then plans to get started, with deliberate habit-building strategies. That's a really powerful combination.
Like making the good habits easier and the bad habits harder.
Exactly. Things like habit stacking, changing your environment. This is especially helpful for those learning goals because once the basics become habit, you free up mental energy to focus on the more complex learning parts.
Right. Okay, we've covered a lot. The good, the bad, the alternatives, the psychology. Let's bring it all home. What are the absolute must-do, actionable strategies people can use right now to make their goals, whatever form they take, actually happen?
All right, let's get practical first. And you might think this is basic, but write them down. Seriously.
Just the act of writing.
Yes. Research consistently shows a strong link between writing down your goals and actually achieving them. Some studies suggest it makes you significantly more likely, maybe even over 40% more likely, to succeed.
Wow. Okay. Why?
It makes them tangible, it takes them out of the realm of wishful thinking and puts them into the physical world. It helps encode them in your memory, clarifies your thinking, and it feels like a commitment.
Okay, step one. Pen to paper or fingers to keyboard. Write it down. What's next?
Visualize success. Spend a few moments regularly, purposefully imagining yourself achieving the goal. Feel the success, see the outcome.
Not just daydreaming, but focused visualization.
Exactly. It's not magic, but it does activate the neural pathways in your brain associated with the actions needed. It primes you for success, builds belief, and can help you anticipate obstacles.
Okay, write it down, visualize it. What about big, daunting goals?
Break them down. Big goals can feel overwhelming. Chop them into smaller, manageable sub-goals or milestones. Each little win builds momentum, gives you feedback, boosts your confidence.
Makes it less scary.
Totally. Just a small caveat. Don't make too many tiny sub-goals. Sometimes that can feel like micromanaging yourself and actually reduce satisfaction. Find the right balance.
Good tip. So break it down. Then what?
Make a specific plan. Beyond the goal itself, list the actual steps you need to take. Put realistic deadlines on those steps. This addresses the how and manages the complexity.
The nuts and bolts.
Yeah. And if your goal involves others, colleagues, family, friends, collaborate and communicate. Be open about the goal, the plan. Share progress. With permission, of course. This builds accountability and support.
Get others involved. Makes sense. How do we keep track of it all?
Organize and track. Use whatever tools work for you. A simple notebook, a spreadsheet, a project management app, maybe even a visual tool like a Gantt chart if it's complex with dependencies. The key is to see your progress.
Visual progress helps motivation.
Definitely. And critically, review regularly. This is non-negotiable. Set aside time weekly, bi-weekly, whatever fits to check in. How are you doing? Is the goal still relevant? Does the plan need tweaking? Treat it like an important appointment, a date with your goals.
A date with your goals. I like that. Keeps it front and center.
It does. And finally, maybe the most enjoyable part, celebrate the wins, big or small. Acknowledge your progress. Pat yourself on the back. If it's a team goal, recognize achievements publicly. Again, with permission. This builds morale, reinforces positive behavior, and makes the journey more rewarding.
It really ties it all together. It's not just about setting the goal in the first place, is it? It's the whole system around it. The planning, tracking, reviewing, celebrating. That's how you execute.
Exactly. You're leveraging psychology to work for you, not against you.
So recapping today, we've definitely gone way beyond just the SMART acronym. We've explored the power of well-defined goals, but also, crucially, the potential pitfalls and the times when other approaches might be better.
Yeah, things like learning goals for complex tasks, or those really practical if-then plans for turning intention into action. You've hopefully got a much richer toolkit now.
Absolutely. So here's a challenge for everyone listening. Pick one goal. Something meaningful to you, could be work, personal life, health, whatever, and apply what we've talked about.
First, really define it. Is a classic SMART structure the best fit here? Or would a learning goal, or maybe even an open goal, serve you better, especially if it involves creativity or complexity?
Then write it down and create at least one specific if-then plan for an action step that moves you towards it.
Put that plan somewhere visible. Make a commitment to check in on your progress, maybe next week. Just start the process.
And here's something to chew on. If knowledge truly is power, then taking that knowledge and applying it, starting with how you define what you want your future to look like, well, that's maybe the ultimate form of taking control, of self-mastery.
So what vision are you ready to make real? And how will you measure the progress on what genuinely matters to you?